Okay. So our first question is, first we're supposed to take a vote. Is RX a success at the time of the case? And so this is I'll give, do you want me to give a summary or are you pretty familiar? Do you remember everything?
So as far as I remember it pretty well because I finished doing all of the prep last night.
Oh, okay.
Just because for some reason my week has been weird. One of the other managers at work is quitting, so my days off are kind of up in the air. So I've been doing homework, when I get the chance.
Uh-huh.
So I pretty much remember. And from what I understand, RX is a success at the time of the case, just because
Yeah.
they were kind of hitting all of their projections and everything at that point. They had been starting to make goals and were making financial success, like they were making revenue. They had good revenue.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at first they had a time where they were trying to grow too fast and the service was declining and stuff. Then they focused more on the service. And once the service got better, that kind of naturally brought in more business.
Yeah, I think especially when they took that like 4-page thing and turned it into a 1-page,
Yeah.
that did so much for them. Because honestly, I mean, anytime you go to the doctor or go anywhere, it sucks when you have to fill out so many pages of information and everything. It honestly, it was probably so nice when they changed that.
Yeah, well, can you imagine it taking an hour to sign up to be a patient? I think I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do this. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
It's not worth it.
yeah, I'd be like, I'll go somewhere else for like just primary care. Yeah, I don't think it should be that big of a deal. But yeah,
Exactly.
okay, so we both vote that they are a success. Start your discussion with those who say RX is a success. Okay, we did. Next, allow those who think RX was not a success. We don't have anyone. Oh, okay. And then they've got a breakdown. So it says yes, and then it says revenue growth 1%. I'm trying to see. Okay, I don't know what that is. 1%.
I don't know what the 1% is, but all the rest are kind of,
Yeah.
good reasons that they're becoming a success. And I think the no has some good points too, like we talked about how they didn't have the good customer service and stuff.
Right.
But I also think that was partially before the case study. I think that they had kind of passed that point a little bit by the time of the case study.
Yep, I think so too. Okay. Read page 5, paragraph 5. Begins with, okay, do you want me to, I can read it out loud. Let's see.
Sure.
Page 5, paragraph 5 begins with the two were therefore. Okay. Oh, this is a long paragraph. Okay. The two were therefore surprised by Theory's directive. Kent told us to stop growing and gave us 6 to 12 months to fix RX's service experience, Golem recalled. And Golem, I don't know. RX was projected to lose between 10 million and 12 million in 2007, and a 6-month halt on growth would see this figure balloon to roughly 18 million in losses for the year. Theory expanded on his reasoning. The RX team was not being sensitive to their impact on the clinic. The effect on the core dialysis business bothered me, and that they'd emphasized growth over quality. We couldn't do this, given our long-term time frame for RX. It had to aspire to be a world-class company rather than one that we could liquidate quickly. I made them stop growing until the day-to-day quality of the experience was better. Most of DaVita's top leaders wanted to shut RX down and were reluctant to support this effort. When I told DaVita's executive team on board that RX's losses were going to be much higher than projected because the service was so bad that we were stopping growth, that made the pressure to shut it down even worse, Terry recalled. External pressures were also rising. The critics questioned why DaVita didn't just continue to grow its successful dialysis business, Fairley said. Okay. And then why did Theory start DaVita in the first place? And that's our first question. And I'm trying to remember what his primary reason was that he really started it.
And I don't remember the primary reason. I remember, like, you know, he pulled everyone together and talked about what they wanted and what they, like, were going to accomplish as a company, but I don't know if there was, like, a prime reason that he started DaVita.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Because I know, like, he emphasized service and patient care. I'm not sure. Does it give us a breakdown of his, like, why did he start in the first place? I don't know. I mean, I did this Monday, so maybe, and I've done other stuff since then, so.
Well, and I don't remember it either. I mean, I read it last night, but
Yeah.
I think there was something about he wanted to make a change in the care of patients with, like, liver problems. Was it liver? I think it was liver.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So I think it was just like he wanted to make a difference in the lives of those people who have, like, the severe day-to-day diseases. And then, like, RX was kind of a continuation on that because that would help them, you know, take the meds and everything that they actually need so that it's kind of preventative instead of just treating them once they get bad.
Okay.
It was either liver or kidney.
Yeah, I can't remember renal failure. I think it's kidney. Yeah, patient's kidney.
I was like, you know, it's one of the
Yeah.
it's one of your vital organs.
So it says DaVita was formed in the late 1970s as a subsidiary managing National Medical Enterprises dialysis centers. Let's see. I don't see. Let's see. I'm just trying to find it so that we actually know what it's wanting us to. So Theory took over, and they had a meeting of 600 people, and at all levels in the organization. And then he facilitated the name nominating and election process for those 600 people. And he said, let's see, he makes choice to rename TRC as DaVita, an approximate translation, giving life.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I remember.
Yeah,
but
it's not as divine as I thought it would be. Okay.
yeah.
And then how did they get out of sync? So why did Theory start DaVita in the first place? How did they get out of sync?
Like, how did DaVita get out of sync, or how did like RX get out of sync with
Yeah,
DaVita?
because it's so the whole question. Read page 5, paragraph 5. Oh, okay. The two.
Sorry, I'm following along on the page, but you know.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So it's talking about RX.
Okay.
Okay.
See, and I'm just thinking, like, RX struggled because they were working as a company that was mixed with it, but they were still partially a startup. It wasn't very defined. And so that made it hard for them to figure out what they were doing on their own. And so they wanted to be different, but they didn't do it in all the right ways, and they were entering a slightly different field. So it was just, they needed more emphasis on customer service than they had.
Yeah. And I think they had all these targets they were trying to reach, and they were afraid of not reaching them, so they just kept pushing growth, and it just, but like you said, they just didn't focus on the patients and what they needed at all. And then they started, their things were late, and they weren't prepared for, like, when they sent prescriptions out in lunch bags, the brown bag, or no, sandwich bag. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, if things are going well, typically, like with customer service and stuff, it's a lot easier to grow. Because if your current customers like you, they'll recommend you. And so I think that's where they kept getting a hang up. They kept trying to push growth, but they didn't have the infrastructure for it. And so I think that kind of leads into, what's kind of going on with Paladina too. They keep pushing growth and they want to grow because they're working as a startup, but at the same time, they're not focusing on customer service, on the things that like are really important. And so I think at one point it said like the people who sell the services didn't know what services were necessarily offered, so they ended up needing to buy new equipment and stuff. It's still like that. Like you just need to work on like fine tuning what's actually available, the customer service that's possible before they try to grow the company.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh, I was going to say something else and then I got distracted. You have some really good points. Yeah, I think I agree. RX and Paladina they both kind of did the same thing, started focusing on growth and forgetting to focus on the customers. Oh, I was going to say, and this is basically what you said, but I feel like your company naturally grows if you have really good customer service.
Yeah.
Because of the word of mouth. Like, that's the best advertising there is. I mean, what's that company we read about a few weeks ago that's their whole marketing scheme was to get people to spread word about products and recommend it. And I think, yeah, if you have fantastic service somewhere, I mean, I hear people recommend places all the time. You know what I mean? Where, oh,
exactly.
yeah, I have a guy that does that, and he's really good. You know what I mean? And so I think word of mouth, like, I find it more valuable than research on the internet. I would rather hear what people have to say in person, hear what people I know say about things.
Yeah, honestly, most people do. And so that's why it's so effective. And so, I mean, even if you're advertising to the best of your ability, if your current customers are kind of saying, it's not the best place, like this is the process you have to go through, no one's going to want to sign up for that, you know?
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Okay, let me see what our next question is. Okay, what are the lessons from Paladina? Theory championed another DaVita startup. That's weird. It ended with a question mark, so. How has the feature performed so far? Compared to RX, what are the major similarities between RX and Paladina? Major differences. So the lessons from Paladina are pretty dang similar to me as the lessons from RX. Like, don't focus on growth as much as you focus on the customer service.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they're different, they kind of are different businesses, but at the same time, they're in the same field. They have the same general market. Like, they're working with a lot of the same people. The people who go to the Paladina clinics are probably going to use the RX feature because it's, you know, linked in some small way.
Right, right. Yeah, well, and if they built in little offices, little RX offices there, I mean, a lot of doctors' offices do that now where they have their own prescription filling service.
Yeah.
And, you know, and and they get a ton of business just because they say, oh, just stay in the building and go get it here, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. So, Theory championed another DaVita startup. True. How has this venture performed so far? One difference, I guess, with Paladina was I think they had more struggles trying to stick by what DaVita wanted them to do, like using their IT system and their real estate guys and legal guys, whereas their business was a startup. It wasn't a great big company, and so it wasn't as effective, and they wasted money on some of that, you know. And so that was a little bit of a difference between the two.
Yeah, I think they both had some like struggles, but also rewards that came with either being attached to DaVita or not.
Yeah.
I do think like Paladina, they're almost trying a little extra hard not to be reliant on DaVita, which can be a good thing, but it does mean that they have to provide for themselves. And so I don't, it's kind of like they both have issues and rewards coming from the relationship with the major company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would definitely rather run a startup that's linked to a great big corporation.
Yeah.
If it means that you've got some other people you have to appease and stuff, I think that's so much less scary than just jumping into a startup all by yourself. But sorry, I got on a tangent.
Oh, you're okay.
Anyway, yeah. Any other similarities and differences between Paladina and RX?
Not distinctly that I can think of.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, let me look at the next one. What golem takes the job?
It probably means should he take the job? Or like, what will he do if he takes the job? I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
I know. I was like, what? And then, assuming Golem takes the job, what should he do? Jesse, hypothesis. Which hypothesis needs to be tested? Separate processing systems. I don't. Goodness,
the question made sense to me, but then it got weird.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think he should take the job. He has the experience turning a company around, and they have the same fundamental problems. I think that if he takes the job, though, he's going to need to slow down growth for a little bit and fix the actual process of the company, like he did with RX, before going forward with the growth.
Yep, I agree. I think, honestly, it's very much like what he's going to have to do with Paladina is pretty much what he just did with RX. And they saw a huge turnaround. And so I think, yeah, he should take the job. Like, he's the right guy for it. He just did it.
Because I'm like, honestly, even if there were some things he struggled with RX, that means he's more prepared to do it with another company. And it's just going to give him more experience in this area. He already has the basis of how to do it. So.
Yep, I agree. Okay, let's move on to Intuit.
All right.
Discuss as a group what it's like to be a farmer in India. I'm going to go through the 4 questions, and then we talk about it all at once. Is that cool? Like the 4 things under that one question.
Yeah, that sounds good. Usually we end up blending stuff together anyway, so that's a better way of doing it.
Why are conditions so terrible? How does Agrinova propose to improve life for farmers? How does it actually work? Is it a good idea? How would you describe the business model? So I think being a farmer in India would be terrible. Holy cow, those guys are walked all over. And what a miserable, like, you don't have transportation. It takes you all day to haul your stuff there, and then you get there, and whatever price they give you, that's what you have to take. Like, the agent says, sure, $5, and you're like, okay, I can't really compete with that, especially like their families have been with the same agents for years and years and years. They feel like they can't leave them. And then if they do, they kind of get blackmailed or blackballed. And then it's not like they can read and they understand the math. And there's just so many negatives against those guys.
Exactly. And I mean, Intuit, Agrinova has a good kind of idea to try and fix it. But I'm worried about just because they do want to, make it easier for them to know about prices from each different person, because part of the problem is they can't travel to multiple places. They have to take the first price given.
Right.
But there's so many issues I found with that idea just because they don't have people that will reliably tell them the prices. They only had a few. They need more. And then on top of that, like, how are they getting the prices fast enough to get them to the farmers? I almost think it would be so much easier if they weren't using texting. Like, if they had some sort of interface or anything, it would be so much easier. It's so hard. And so I just, like, there's so many just, like, holes in what they're trying to do that I feel like they need to work a lot more to set up that structure before they try and make it into an actual, like, product or service.
Well, and, like, so I did my international study on, have you taken international business?
I don't think I have, no.
You basically pick a country and then you focus on it like the whole semester. And it's really cool, but mine was on India, and when it comes to business, they don't really have a problem being dishonest. Like, I don't think the agents would have, like, they wouldn't really feel bad about hurting them. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're different classes, and they keep their classes pretty separate. And they know, like, and to them, it's very clear. They're like, oh, so-and-so is above me. I need to be respectful of that. Or, oh, so-and-so is below me. I can kind of, and it doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just a culture. But their culture is very much like, they're okay being a little sneaky and deceptive sometimes. I mean, there are worse countries. China came up a lot worse, but
that makes it insanely hard, especially for, like, farmers and stuff, because they're on the bottom of the food chain no matter what they do. And even a service, if they know it's a service for farmers, they're either going to lie or they are going to give a price, and then they're going to, when they get there, lower it, because there's nothing they can do once they've actually gotten there except say, oh, okay, well, that sucks, like,
Yeah.
and at that point, Intuit is only really helping them to trick people, like, it's hard. They can't make sure that it's going to be the right price.
Right. Well, and one of the points Intuit made was, will the farmers even recognize if it is helping them save money or earn more money? Because it's not like they're super intelligent guys, they don't have a lot of education and they don't have anything to compare it to really except past. And so they said they might not even recognize that it's helping them enough to invest in it.
Yeah, because they won't know, oh, it's gone up $1 this year versus, oh, it's gone up $1 because I'm using this service.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
And actually reading it, I almost thought it would be more helpful to create some form of service that actually helps them learn farming practices. Because honestly, a lot of the farmers, it even said, like, they have poor crops and yields and stuff because they don't necessarily know exactly how they're taking care of the crops and everything.
Yeah.
They just do what they can. And so I feel like doing that, or like, somehow portioning out, you guys do corn, you guys do this year. Like,
right. Yeah.
I know that they saw a lot of issues with that, but at the same time, they're having so many issues with this. I feel like that would be a more reliable service. They could even say, okay, looking at the numbers, we advise that you plant this, or this, because the way that they were looking at going about it is 500 other farmers in your area are planting this.
Right.
Well, don't give them a number, just figure it out for them and then tell them.
Yeah, because they won't know. They're like, okay, does that mean I should or shouldn't?
Exactly. And so I'm like, I understand that process is a little hard, but at the same time, I feel like it would almost be more profitable and they would know it would be a good thing. Whereas this project Agrinova, the way that they came up with it, is going to be really hard to enforce and implement.
Yeah. Well, and even if they get the agents to be honest about it, and the agents are doing good, then the agents are going to start losing money. And other agents who are being dishonest are going to be like, hey, you messed me up. Like, you lost me business because you said that the price was lower, or you know what I mean, or higher. And so I think even if you got honest agents, I think they would start turning and stop providing data, because I honestly think it's going to hurt the agents to help them. And so having to rely on the agents for their data, that's not going to last.
Exactly. And so honestly, I mean, it's a good idea in principle, but with the market the way that it is there, it doesn't practically work. And even just if they were being honest, they still have to have a network of people who collect the data from all the people so that they can put it into the system. I mean, it's just a lot of things that they don't have in place or have thought out.
Right.
And there isn't even a good way to get it to work. Even if they managed to get it started up, like you said, it wouldn't last. It would kind of fall apart because the agents would realize what's going on.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just didn't come up with a good idea for the area they're in. I know that it was based on the struggles of the area they're in, but their solution is based on the culture of a different area.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It just doesn't quite fit with their culture. It's just not. I just can't imagine it working. Like, I like your idea. I think that's super clever, though, where they actually come in and they say, hey, based on the numbers we've been given, it would be smart to plant one of these two crops. Something like that.
Because I know that's a lot more like baby city. Like, you have to find out what everyone's planning on planting. But I mean, once you get enough people, Lana, down. Down, Lana. Once you get enough people, you can just kind of assign stuff. Sorry, I'm watching someone else's dog, and she tries to pretend she's a lap dog, and she is not.
It's funny. Let me see. Okay, I think we covered all that. Next question. What did you like about how they pursued this opportunity? What would you do differently? Have they found product market fit? Why?
One thing I do think they did well is they did their research about the area. I mean, I couldn't have come up with the different ideas that I did for what they might be able to do if they hadn't gotten such generalized data. They
Yeah.
definitely did their research into all of the problems that the farmers are encountering so that they'd know what was going on in the area as a whole before they tried to decide on a product, which I think was really good because that helps them kind of figure out what all is going on and how one thing can affect it.
Yeah. Well, and I like that the goal of Intuit was to solve, like, not, like, they didn't go into it saying, hey, how can we make a profit? They went into it saying, hey, what kind of problem can we fix? I like that.
It's true. They wanted to make a change, not just, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is really good for a company because, I mean, if you're making a good enough change, people will pay you.
okay,
And
exactly.
you'll feel way better about it than if you're just making money off something that's stupid, you know?
Yeah, I think even if you came out with the same result, if you began with the question, how can I make money, versus the question, how can I fix someone's problem, your company is going to be so much, like, you just, that's a totally different foundation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so you're going to feel better about it, and your company's probably, because you're going to tell people what your thought was. And if you're saying, oh, I wanted to solve a problem, you're going to attract different people too. So your company's
Well,
going
and
to.
honestly, I almost think you'll be more profitable that way because it won't be like, oh, well, how can I make money? Let me use this cheaper material. You're
Right.
going to think about what people need and want, and then they're going to be more willing to purchase it from you. So in the long run, you'll get more customers. Your company will be more profitable. Like, it just affects the basis of everything you do, I feel like, when you come at it from that angle. Because if
Yeah.
all you're worried about is money, you're not going to make quality products or
Yeah.
services.
Right. Yep, I agree. Let's see. Oh, it says, what would you do differently? You know, the way that they pursued, the way that they went about this, I mean, they did the research, and that's the biggest thing to me. A lot of times when you see a company fail, I feel like they didn't put in enough research.
It's true.
Yeah, and so this one, I think they did a lot of great research, and I think they found a great area that needs help, but she's like, I'm going to be on TV too.
Pretty much, yeah. She's like, you're talking to someone and it's not me.
Yep. Anyway, but I don't really know what I would do differently. I think I probably would have wanted to solve the same problem, but I don't know that there's really a solution the way that the culture is at this time, the culture and the technology.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just where that country is, where the people are at, the situation they're in. I don't know what else I can do for them other than, like you said, maybe recommend a cop.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, there are ways that they could have come up with other solutions. I just think that they're going to have trouble because there are so many problems, which is a good thing that they researched it, but there's so many different angles that, like, you can't just fix one thing and assume it'll fix all the problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge problem at this point. So it's going to be really hard for them to find one tiny thing to fix without creating other problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay, next one, vote. Do you think Intuit will be able to build a large-scale profitable business out of this opportunity? What are the risks? Which assumptions should the team take? I say no. I don't think they will.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay. So what are the risks? We kind of went over the risks. Which assumptions should the team take? Right hypothesis. Okay. Do they want us to hypothesize why it will fail?
I mean, just because there's no way to even assess the value. I think that's the biggest thing that got me was like they can't rely on any of the processes that they're planning to use.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way for the farmers to know the value. If they can't know the value, they're not going to want the service.
Right.
And then you don't have any customers. You can't make it into a business because you can't even prove its worth.
Right.
There's no way to make it obvious that it's needed.
Well, and you know how they said that the farmers all got together for tea time after?
Mm-hmm.
What would keep them from one of the farmers buying the service and then sharing it with all the others? Because that's kind of what they do anyway. So even
Yeah.
if they provided it, it kind of sounds like they're willing to share it with each other anyway. So I don't know that it's really profitable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of that whole culture, like, and like I said, their idea to fix the problems might have worked in a different culture, but it's almost like they're taking the problems of this culture and trying to create solutions for a different culture. It's just really weird that the way that they're coming at it, like, they're not thinking in the version of like what they actually need to do for these farmers versus what they would do if they were looking at them themselves.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're thinking a little too a little too technical on it all, because I just don't think they're ready to utilize that yet.
Exactly.
Pass-fail criteria. So it says right hypothesis, then pass-fail criteria.
I think we kind of went over that. I mean, if you don't have a way to measure your company's worth, if you don't have a way to actually implement the process of your company, stuff like that, that's all pass-fail criteria, and they're failing pretty hard at it.
Yeah. Well, and the farmers that they asked if they wanted it, they said yes, but that was always for free. You know what I mean? They never said, hey, if this was the service and it was priced at this, would you buy it?
Exactly. Because they also can't even prove, how many like agents are going to be cooperating with them either. They can't,
Yeah. Yep. Specific action, MVP to test your hypothesis. Well, MVP, the most valuable product is if we were actually launching it, and we're saying that it's not going to work. So there's really nothing to test. Expected result. I think they should tackle it either from another angle or go for another problem that's a little bit easier to solve. Because I just can't see anything being super successful in that situation.
Yeah, especially just the way they came up with it. I think that they're going to find more problems than solutions with what they're trying to do. Like you said, if they tried to come at it with a different angle, they might have more success. But just with what they're trying right now, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah. The next question says, why is Intuit doing this? I think we covered that. They wanted to solve a local problem. They were looking for another problem to tackle and solve.
Which is a great idea. They just need to work a little harder on the solving.
Yes, I agree. So we covered our group discussion stuff. Do we want to go over the questions that are going to be on our paper this week?
So we can a little bit. They're pretty short. I already copied and pasted them to a Word document, but it's basically like small chunks of what we talked about.
Okay.
For the Intuit, it talks about identify the risks that it faces. So we're supposed to write hypothesis, do pass-fail criteria, the MVP, and expected results.
Okay. I'm not really sure how we're going to do that. We're saying that they shouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
We can kind of say our expected results are failure, but
Exactly. Okay, that's going to be kind of challenging. Okay.
But yeah, so that's what it is, and I think we can probably get it done and come up with something good. I mean, it's not too complex this week. And then for Davida, it's assuming that he takes the job. What should he do? And we talked about that too. What he should try and do first. What his results should be, stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
This week is pretty simple.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay, I will work on it a little bit tonight.
Okay.
I'm pretty tired, so I don't know how far I'll get this time. But yeah, I'll work on it a little bit tonight. You said you already sent out a group invite, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just made another Google Doc, so it should already be up there.
Okay, cool. I hesitated last week. I'll stop the broadcast.